What's going on, guys? The day we've all been waiting for is finally here. I get to talk to you about all the new features coming to NHL 25 franchise mode. And if you could, guys, before I get started, leave a thumbs up on this video, as trust me, there's a lot in here you guys are gonna like. So I'm just gonna jump right into this, guys. As you can see, we've got an all new franchise hub. I'm a big fan of this, of course, you know, with it being blue. You guys can see my background. I love the color blue. Of course, too, more importantly, you got like all the information you're gonna need on one screen. So you got like the upcoming games there with 1 week of the calendar. You got, of course, the next game. You got the projected goalies. You got all the stats on the upcoming matchup, goals for per game, goals against, power play, PK, team leaders. Of course, too, you got your quick links. You can get to all the other things within that menu. You've also got some stuff down there like locker room chemistry, player morale. And now on the right, you can see a lot more than just the stats from the upcoming game. You can also see the team leaders from there. So you got forward points, defensive points. I like that they break that up. Goals, assists, rookies, goalie wins, again, all on the main screen. You've also got the league leaders there without actually having to go to like the stats screen. So you can see Mitch Marner apparently leading the league in assists. You've also got your point leaders there. Sebastian Aho is popping off. Now you guys can see here, we've got a new feature to franchise mode. That is conversations. On the left side here, you can see you can have a conversation with your head coach or any of your players. You got a bunch of different guys to choose from. Now we will talk about that a bit later in this video. Next year, you can actually see the all new box score menu where you can actually see the box score for every single game being played in your franchise. So right here, you can see November the 20th, you got 5 games played. We see the score of every single one, who got the game winner. November 21st, again, you see the score of every single game. And I love the fact that just on the one screen there, it makes it so easy to read. Also too, this way you'll see if there's like, you know, some crazy 15-2 game or something like that. Beforehand, you'd only ever see that if it actually happened with a game you played in. And what's even cooler is the fact you can actually click on any of these games and get a goal summary. So know if, you know, some team had a crazy third period comeback. You can also get all the events from that game. So you can see all the different player stats, minutes, goals, assists, plus minus shots. It's literally all there for every single game. Like, this amount of depth hasn't been franchised in quite some time, so that's why I've been so excited to actually talk about this mode with you. I know a lot of people are bummed no GM connected, but trust me, guys, I am very excited here for NHL 25 franchise. And speaking of all the added depth in this mode, guys, now when you look at a player's stats, you can actually go and see every single game they played in each season. So right here you can see PD September 20th, 23rd, 24th, all his games played, broken down, how he did in each of those games. You also have split stats, so you can see last 10, home, away, all kinds of different stuff. So excited for this. And on top of that, guys, a feature I know a bunch of you have been asking for some time because I've been asking for it as well. There's now a tab that shows you all the awards a players earned in their career. So looking at Ovechkin here, you can see all the Maurice Richard trophies, even like the Stanley Cup, everything else he's won. This is just so cool. I feel like this will definitely make career sims a lot easier, no longer having to like track all the awards a players won. You can actually just take a look at all of them at the end of their career. And next, you guys want to talk about the all new contract negotiation system. Each player actually has an organizational interest meter now, showing you how likely they are to sign with you. So Draisaitl, for instance, very interested in our organization, whereas Marchand and Besser are not, which is kind of funny. I'm pretty sure we're the Canucks in this. Besser does not want to come back. Matt Duchene wants to sign with us, and honestly, a pretty good deal, 4.8. Draisaitl's asking for less than he got in real life. Also, too, in regards to the overalls, I'm pretty positive these are not final, so, you know, take those with a grain of salt. But the bigger thing is coming. I want to just kind of let this play here for a couple seconds. He's talking about, you know, all the different interest meters and everything. Finally, look at that, guys. We have no move clauses in NHL 25 franchise mode. It took quite a bit, but we finally have it. And on top of that, too, there's actually a bunch of different versions. Like, you got the no movement clause, you got the no trade. You can even have it where it's like 4-team no trade list, 8-team, 12-team, so many different things. I'm just gonna let this play though. You guys will see all the different features I'm talking about. Also too, it actually shows you now how much a player's contract's taking up of your salary cap. So you can see Draisaitl here taking up 13.1% of the cap. It also shows their interest in both the contract and your organization. So maybe if you lowball them, they'd have low interest in the contract, but still high in the organization. Or if it's low in the organization, you really gotta make sure that contract's kind of worth their while, something that would make them change their mind. It also will show player requests here. So it might say something like, I want to be a first line player, and then you can make promises based on those requests. So like I said, guys, I just think this is so cool. I think next year it's going to show what I was talking about, no trades modified. So you got 4-team no trades. Again, you can change the protection there, so it can be 10%, 25. Again, that's changing the number of teams you're allowed to trade that player to. So I was simply going to be happy with just like a full no trade, and that's it. The fact they've added all those different versions is honestly so cool. Now, right here they're actually showing the new conversation system. Sam Bennett had a low organization interest, so they're basically trying to have a conversation here where they say, you know, let us pitch you on the organization. We're trying to be a contender, pay you a lot of money, you know, just a bunch of different things to kind of convince them to sign with your team. I know too in the video they said how they actually take everything into consideration, like, are you a contender, are you a rebuilder, is your city close to where they're from, taxes, like that's honestly incredible to hear all that. I think too, coach playstyle might be another thing. And I almost forgot, guys, you can actually see them negotiating the contract in the conversation system. So he says he wants 5 years. They say, we'll give you 5. He then says, I want at least 7 million. So you can negotiate it, or you could, you know, offer more money. Like, the fact you can actually do all this and see how that's affecting the player, definitely something we've been asking for a long time now. You can see there, yeah, you can change it, how much extra money you want to give them to actually make it worth your while. Like right here, you can see they said, well, if we gave you an extra $2 million, going from 7 to 9, at that point, he's like, okay, you know, maybe I actually would sign with you guys. Initially, he did not want to. So on top of that, they actually guarantee him first line minutes. This is a ton of stuff for Sam Bennett, but again, just very cool to see all that. On top of that too, guys, you can actually table contract offers now. I'm sure like me, even in a situation where you want 2 guys, you've only got the money for 1, so you make an offer on both, but then you get unlucky and the guy you want the second most signs first. Tabling the offer now allows you to avoid that. So in this scenario, they table the offer for Bennett for like 3 or 4 days, basically meaning the contract he accepted is good until then, and in that time, they could go out and try to sign a better player with that money. Now at the same time, a different team could step in and potentially offer Bennett an even better offer. Now in this scenario, that does not happen, because I think he gave Bennett like a $9 million no move clause, which again, a lot of money for Sam Bennett, but again, to see all that, you can see player requests, top 6 forward, power play, never scratched, and then your promises, play on first line. Again, this is just so cool. Again, so many things we've been asking for finally in the game. And next, you guys, I talk about how the no move clauses work in the trade screen. As you can see, there's actually a tab there for any players that have a clause. So you got Barkov, Kachuk, Reinhardt, Forsling, all with no moves. Ekblad, though, has a modified no trade clause. You can see there, 12 team no trade list, which actually shows you the 20 teams he can be traded to. I'm not exactly sure how they come up with this because I don't think it's public knowledge. So I'm sure there's some sort of algorithm in the game based on player type, you know, where they're from, things like that. Are they an older player, maybe looking to contend, whatever. It shows here he does not want to be traded to Carolina Hurricanes. We could actually have a conversation with them, try and convince them that, you know, Carolina is a good destination. So I think that's very cool. It still gives you the option to try and get guys to go where you want. Right there, they ask him to waive. It fails, so basically he's now no longer, you know, willing to go to Carolina. They have to try to find somebody else to make a trade with that team. But definitely cool that like this is now, you know, part of the game. Like if there's a guy on your team you really want to move, no move clause, and you actually have to try and convince him to go somewhere. If he has like an anchor contract, it makes it a lot tougher. This is just showing how you can do the same thing from the main menu. They go to have a conversation with Kachuk here about potentially making a trade. He has a full no move, so they say, are there any teams you would be willing to get traded to? I think they end up saying like, just give us 1 team you get traded to. And as you can see here, there's now a modified no trade clause next to his NMC because he did submit 1 team he's willing to get traded to, and I believe that was the Montreal Canadiens. So again, I don't know how Kachuk picked that. It's also really cool. You can see this year, 31 team no trade because he gave them 1 team he get traded to, no move the next 3, and then the last 2 years he actually has his regular 16 team no trade list. So this is definitely going to make it a lot tougher now to make trades, but also a lot more realistic. So, you know, super happy to see this being added to the game. And next, you guys are showing some of more options available to you via the conversation system. I should point out too, I think it's cut off on my recording, but they've actually got a ticker at the bottom of the screen on the main menu showing you like point leaders throughout the league, things like that. And that's something a lot of people have been asking for. I think it happens when you're at the trade deadline. Now it happens on the main menu. So speaking to Korchinski here, he's got a season goal set out for him. Basically, these are ways to actually influence your player's growth. If you say, I want you to get 40 assists this year, and he actually goes through and does that, he'll get like +1 to +4 in passing. They said too, you can do other things, like you can tell him, I want you to win an award. I'm sure if he wins the Norris Trophy, he'll get a real nice boost. You can also set them out on different goals to try and gain them X factors. Right here, you can see he's asking him to get, you know, goals, assists, plus minus there. If he has such a good plus minus, defense awareness goes up. And again, you know, 40 assists, +1 to 4 passing. This is what we've wanted. Ways to actually control your player's growth. Obviously, again, he could have done the plus minus thing for defensive player. Korchinski, though, is like a pass first offensive defenseman. I think this makes a ton of sense. As you can see here, you can actually change your player's playstyle. I just mentioned how he's an offensive defenseman. You could tell him that you want him to be more defensive guy now. Maybe you have, you know, some better #1 offensive defenseman to take his shoes. You can also actually ask him to change position. So this can be something small, like a left defenseman going to right D, but it also could be like a Brent Burns situation where you want Korchinski to play on the wing. So really cool. It actually says how the age of the player takes effect here, because a younger player has more chance to be willing to change their position. They're just getting to the NHL, whereas a veteran who's been playing, you know, right wing for the last 20 years probably just want to move to defense. Also, too, it says like their stats take into consideration. So, defenseman with lower defense awareness more likely to want to be a forward than a defenseman with high defense awareness. Obviously, he wants to stay playing defense. So, again, very, very cool here, this conversation system. You can see we could even try to make him a centerman, which would be kind of funny. Later on in the years, you might draft a defenseman that actually has decent faceoffs, so maybe this somehow makes sense. As you can see, the conversation did fail, but again, just one more very cool feature in the mode. And now another conversation you can have here, guys, is actually with your coach. These will give you team boosts. You can see conditioning, strength, skill, 5v5. Depending what you pick will determine, of course, what the team boost is going to be. And now one more thing with this, guys, it's not just a buff, it's also a debuff. So definitely have to be smart here about what you choose. If you choose to buff the power play, your PK gets worse. Obviously, on the other side of that, you choose PK, it gets boosted, power play goes down. 5v5 focused, I'm assuming your special teams will then go down if you get that boosted. But again, I really like the fact that you actually have a bit more say now on how your team plays. Next year, it actually just shows what I said, which is now you don't have to worry about as much about injuries, because when you change the preferred lines to what you want them to be, say, Miller gets injured here, he's your first line center. If you're like me, you just spent 20 minutes optimizing your line to start the season, which is why I always play with injuries turned off, as it only takes one injury to ruin all of that work, as soon as you click best lines once, you have to redo everything. Now that's not the case. You can actually have a conversation with your head coach and say, okay, so I always want, PD first line left wing. I always want DeBrusque second line left wing, and that's basically what they're doing here. They're talking about, the preferred lines, what they want to see from their coach. Obviously, I don't think it's perfect. Like, I don't know if you can do this for, say, the power play, but at least it should be able to, save you some time, especially for guys who do play with injuries turned on. I'll probably still keep it off because you still have to spend some time having a conversation with the coach to make this happen. I prefer to just have it off, save myself, a bit of time here. But for anyone that does have it on, this is definitely going to be a godsend for you. And now the final thing here, guys, is something roster editors like me have been asking for years, and that's the ability to actually move draft picks now within the edit roster screen. So as you can see, you got the Ducks, the Sabres, you actually have Anaheim here having the Edmonton Oilers first round pick in 2024. So now when you make that custom roster to start the year, it no longer goes obsolete by the trade deadline. You could also probably just have some fun with this. If you want to just move all the first round picks onto one team rather than actually trading for them in game, you could just see what it's like to start with a team with all the first, or maybe take away all of a team's picks if you just hate that team or something. So like I was saying, guys, I'm super excited for this. I do have to note one thing though, even though they add the draft picks, which is amazing, no longer, like I said, does your day one roster going to go to waste. Unfortunately, roster sharing still is not available for your custom rosters, so you have to be on, say, Series X to get my roster. You got to be on PS5 to get a roster from someone on PS5. So hopefully that'll come, in the future years. And I think that's gonna do it for the video, guys. As I said many times throughout, I'm very excited for all the new changes. I'm sure there'll still be some issues with the mode, but I don't think anyone can deny they definitely went hard this year, trying to give us the best possible franchise mode. And honestly, guys, I'm just so excited to start the rebuilds. Maybe it's time we bring back Cup or Bust. We'll have to wait and see. But if you enjoyed the video, leave that thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a nice day. Goodbye.